Hello, gorgeous lady. How are you?
Good, and you?
It's ages since I've seen you.
It's way too long. I can't believe it's been like 3 days. It's ridiculous.
Oh, how are you? How are you doing? Now it's March and we've managed to survive February.
Survive, like you mean clawing on by our fingernails and trying not to disintegrate. I feel like spring has arrived. That's how I feel. It's just like I kind of feel like I've gone. I feel like that like Inanna myth where like they go underground and then literally like die, and then at the end like everything gets rebirth. I feel like that. I feel like I've been underground for 2 months.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm back now. So
Yeah. Yeah, that energy has been super strong for me as well. It really has and it's not just the sunshine, although that definitely helps.
yeah.
Yeah, it really feels like everything is starting to integrate from that kind of whatever was going on, the crazy start to the year and all of
Yeah.
that kind of denseness. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's almost because I'm writing the book now, and it's like I'm now supposed to go into those spaces where I'm like clear about my truth. So what it's done is it's literally gone, how do you feel about your truth? And like it's squeezed the shit out of me to make sure that I'm really, really like solid about my truth, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yes.
So,
Yes, it absolutely does. Yeah. I moved away from writing for I think there was a way that it felt too raw, but also with the verbal. So I took maybe like a year or something to just write and to work on my book and everything, um and then the lockdown, pandemic, all of that kind of hit, and it at once felt kind of, oh, well, this is irrelevant now, but also too relevant, if that makes sense.
yeah.
Um, and it was almost like there was so much pressure to get it right that I had to let go of it completely, and moving into the visual processing and the visual kind of work was such a relief for me, because it really brought me out of that kind of the logical and the critical and the judgment and all of that kind of stuff into so much more of just an acceptance and the flow and the feminine, and it was such a great, I mean, it that's what I needed. That's what I
Yes.
needed. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm gonna like just on that. So I'm just thinking because I got this thing coming up about it. So sometimes when we are like I feel like sometimes we're in the process of completely crystallizing our truth, it's almost like it's easier for us to express it visually than it is to actually put it out in words. And so there's a fine line
Yeah,
between sitting and just constantly visually expressing and never actually using the words. So
absolutely.
there's that thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I get at the end of our sacred expression sessions for people to integrate back to the verbal mind,
Yeah.
even in just a subtle way, because it really helps to integrate and to process all of that kind of stuff that you've been going through. And we live in a verbal world, so if you don't if you don't process in that way, then it kind of gets stuck.
Yes, exactly. And it's almost also like there's something about our messages that needs to be shared, because as much as our visual art or like what we create and we try and put our truth in there, people interpret it through their own lenses.
Yeah.
But I guess even our words as well, but our words are a little bit more because it kind of forms back into what society can understand. So, you know, like if you're painting or whatever, then it's just like, then it's your full truth and no one even needs to understand it. It's like how it hits them, right? But if you write it out, it's like then that whole judgment element comes back again. And it's just like, then people can go, oh, but I don't like what you've said. So, you know, your painting is almost like easier. And then when the words come, because the judgment thing for me has been like something to really, really look at. It's almost like it was almost like it flowed underneath the writing process. It's flowing underneath the writing process at the minute. Is that whole thing of judgment. And I've kind of like crystallized it all down to like so many of our issues start from the point of judgment. Like most of the shit that we create in our life that we go through, like the little, like, the little point of it all is judgment.
So
it's like,
and I think the crazy thing is, even though you probably know that we're our own harshest critics, that, you know, the things that we worry other people might say about us are actually, they're the things that we say about ourselves, and we just worry that other people might mirror that in some way. And the crazy thing is that, you know, we wouldn't talk to, I think most people maybe I'm naive, most people wouldn't be very critical of somebody else unless you kind of get a kick out of it in some bizarre Machiavellian way. I don't know.
I think if you took the spectrum of humanity, there's probably like that much out of everyone who would like deliberately go and be mean to someone, right? Or like say judgy stuff or whatever. And I think like sometimes we make up these freaking bogus stories in our head. I know, like I did in the beginning of my work and stuff when I started all this stuff. It was just like I would make up these like, what are people going to say? Because in my family, that's like one of the things, right? Like being South African, it's always like, what are the people going to say? And then I'm like, basically, fuck the people. Like they're actually just not that interested in me. I'm actually the one thinking everyone's looking at what I'm doing, but actually no one's looking. Only the people who are really interested are looking at what I'm doing. And they will resonate with it. Other people are just going, scroll past that. Not interested in Yolandi's weirdness. It's all okay, right? And it's like, I'm like, you're on such a freaking ego trip, girl. This is like the whole world isn't sitting there going, oh, let's talk about Yolandi and what the hell she's doing today. So that for me was a bit of a freaky one. It's like when you break it down and you go, well, actually, no one gives a shit. And it is what it is. It's just like the people who care will be there. The other ones are just going to be that way, right? So
and that's so liberating when you get to that. I mean, when you keep coming back to that, because you have to keep reminding yourself, definitely. But I love your weirdness. I'm in love with your weirdness. I am so grateful for our connection. And I would love you to just describe yourself. Like, how would you describe yourself?
So, someone said to me the other day, you live in Yolandi-land. So I think I spend let's say I spend probably 60 to 70% of my time in Yolandi-land. So how would I describe myself? I am passionate about understanding more of why we are here. That's like I feel like I'm a searcher, like I'm a constant searcher. So in myself, I always want to know more, I want to learn more, I want to understand more. So if I had to like one word for me, I'm a searcher. Like I want to know truths and I want to see things that other people haven't seen before. And I think that's why I spend so much time in Yolandi-land. So
I love that.
That's me. Like I want to see the shit that no one else has seen before. And I want to go and find out stuff that's not written in books yet or that's not even thought about yet. And I want to uncover stuff that we've forgotten.
Oh,
that's what I want to. That's like what I'm about. Like I'm driven by that basically. So and then I'm like a mom and a wife and a sister and a daughter, like all that. But this feels like the core of me as the explorer.
The explorer, yeah. Oh, I really love that, and I really relate to that as well. I think that even since I was a little girl, that's what you know, that's the part of me that has never changed in any way. And yeah, I love when we can really connect to that part of ourselves and remember every single day. I think that's where it's like, that's the real truth. That's the real adventure for all of us.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to forget with all of our kind of, you know, all of the stuff we have to do each day and all of our kind of structures and systems and beliefs. And yeah, if you can keep coming back to that, that is just pure magic to me.
That's the thing. That's where the magic lies. Because I'm thinking, like before I spoke to you, I was busy folding the laundry, and then I came here to talk to you, and I'm like, that's our lives, right? We flit between like making dinner and like going for awesome, meditations, and then like doing my work, and then like
Screaming
it's
at the
just like,
kids.
yeah, exactly. And like hating lockdown and all those, like, and being upset with the system and all of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But I kind of also, just on that, like, I kind of think that weaves into the truth thing as well for me, because I've been really dissecting the patriarchy and what it all means, and like trying to understand my own truth around it, right? Because I'm not a big fan of like constantly bitching about stuff
Yeah.
without having a solution. So
Same.
so it's, for me, it's like, if I'm going to bitch about something, then I better have a way of fixing it. And I think the more I come back and the more I'm sitting with this truth and I'm unraveling it, the more it all comes back to me the whole time. The whole thing is just like, so I need to sort myself out, and then I can start breaking down through my behavior all of these things that's stopping me from fully embracing magic. Right? Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Oh my God, yes. And you know, it can feel like a never-ending story, can't it? It's like, how much,
Another cycle.
yeah, how much more do I need to work on, or to kind of dive deep into, or kind of revisit again and again and again? And I think what's so important is to remember that we are always learning. Even though we think we've forgotten, and you know, we kind of get to something and we're like, didn't we do this before?
Am I replaying this again?
Yeah.
Yes. So it's just like, and then I think about a lot about stuff that we don't remember, because it's like everything's been said that can be said, but not everything has been said that can be said. Like there's these pockets of newness that feels like they're coming up out of the ground and out of the sky and everywhere, and they like waiting for us to go there. And then
Yeah.
that freshness and that newness of them, and the upside downness of thinking and the new ways of doing things, are literally like right here, right around us, right?
Yeah.
And so like I'm kind of on this quest at the minute to go, like, where can we start shifting the paradigm? Where can we put everything up on its head? Because I kind of feel like this whole COVID thing is like forced us to go, how do we do things differently? How do we all show up differently and all of that?
Oh yes.
So it's just like, it's like the universe and Mother Gaia just went, let me just push you, because you guys have been fucking around for so long now. Let's just do this and bring it to a point so you can all go, what's my truth? What do I actually want? What's important? And how can we do things differently? That's
Yeah.
where I'm at the minute. Like, I'm so happy about like all of that shit that happened, because now everything has to go whoop, and we can start doing things in a different way.
Yeah, I totally agree. I absolutely 100% agree. And when I was talking to Trish the other day, Trish McKinley, she said the pandemic, she was so excited about it. And she said she knew that that would piss a lot of people off. And I agreed, because the fact is that we so needed to be shaken up. And maybe it's not the most, you know, kind of gentle or nurturing way to do it. And yet, when we're purging, when we're cleansing, when we're, you know, healing anything, we have to bring up the dark stuff. We have to. There's just no way around it. You have to get rid of that.
Yes.
And at least bring it to the surface and go, oh yeah, I don't need that anymore. Let's get rid of it.
Yes. Yes. Exactly.
You can't keep suppressing it, and you can keep suppressing it, but it's going to just cause exponential, infinite problems forevermore.
And I think like something that I've really been tuning into in the last month or so also is like that darkness that we have. Like, so for me, there's a lot of like our wounds lie there and all of those, like those things about us that we don't like and stuff. But very often, and especially as healers and stuff, right? Like we are working from a truth, right? Like I'm working from a space that is my truth. And if I am allowing the darkness to not contaminate my truth, but sort of steer my truth, instead of like integrating the darkness, accepting it, healing it, you know, so some people are showing up in their wounds and like,
yeah.
And that for me is just so sad, because it's like, sort your shit out. I'm not saying we all need to be perfect, but like really, we need to take responsibility for our wounds, and then like through that, we help other people. Because every time I heal one of my patriarchal wounds, one of my witch wounds, one of my starseed wounds, whatever wounds I'm carrying within me, like then I get to teach other people how to do it as well, right? Like I get to show other people, like, guess what? I figured this out. Like there, you can have some of that and like work with that, right? But like if we don't take responsibility, so I think what I like about how things are turning on its head now is that if we don't take responsibility for our stuff, it's almost like you're going to get called out. You're going to get seen. And so all the responsibility lies with us as people to sort our shit out and be honest about the wounds that we carry and like work through them and then give it out to the world in a beautiful, loving way.
Oh, so much, yes. And also simply modeling it as well. So you don't even necessarily have to say to people, hey, look, this is what you have to do. Although clearly when we're teaching that and you know, helping people, you know, facilitating people through that process, that's so important. But even just modeling it in our everyday lives, to our friends, to our families, you know, the people at the shops, whoever.
No, exactly. Like you live your truth, you walk it, right?
It ripples out, and you know, people might trigger people as well, because they're not quite ready to face their own stuff. And so, you know, seeing somebody in their own truth is really kind of it hits them. But maybe that's, you know, that's part of the process, isn't it? It's like starting to bring an awareness to it.
Yes. Like I do think we are here to piss some people off. in a way, like go, oh, what is she doing? Like, how could she do that? Like, you know, and then it's just like, why is she doing that? Because for me, it's all about like, I'm always like, where can people start thinking for themselves? Like, where can we start like reconnecting with our truth? Because we don't get taught as kids.
Oh God, no.
Sit down and go, so what's my truth? Because like our parents didn't know, their parents didn't, but like no one went down that route, right? And so you get into the space where someone goes, so dude, what's your truth? And like you ask people that question and they're going, sorry, what? Like I've never thought about it, right?
Yeah.
And unless you make a conscious effort to make that your mission, which I think like we are learning now and we are teaching and we are showing people that that's one of the core things that you actually should look at within yourself, because it's just going to make things easier for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, when we talk about, so what you were saying there about, you know, kind of asking people what's your truth, and I think there's so many layers to that. So even I've noticed myself is that, you know, you kind of think, oh, this is who I am and this is why I'm here and this is what truly drives me every day. And then there's a constant peeling away process of, well, actually you're almost there but not quite. There's like another, that was actually another layer of superficiality and of conditioning and of kind of, you know, ancestral wound or whatever you want to call it. Actually you still need to go a bit deeper.
exactly, because for me, like our truths are ever changing, my truth is that my truth is forever changing. As I find myself deeper
Yeah.
within myself, my truth is evolving.
Yeah.
So, I think in the, like I say, I want to say the olden days, but like many moons ago, right? Like people were like, this is my truth and I'm sticking to it and I'm not going to change it. But now I feel like we're in that space where we've got access to so much information. So many people are sharing their truths, and you create your truth through what you expose yourself to, right? So
Yes.
if you were just to stay in your little town for the rest of your life and
Yes.
never go on the internet and just, then that's going to be your entire truth.
Yeah.
But if you allow your mind to go open up,
Yeah.
it's going to mess with your truth in a big way, because you're going to go, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. What is it that I want? Like, who am I in all of that as well, right? And then that kind of leads you back to you. But you're going to have to look at the world. Your eyes have to open up.
Yeah, and you really have to notice the effects of the world upon you in all of the different kind of scenarios as well, because social media is a prime example. And I think I related to somebody recently that I much prefer Instagram over Facebook, because Instagram tends to be more, and obviously it depends who you follow and all of this kind of thing, but for me, I find it more relaxing. I find it more inspirational, generally, whereas Facebook, I can be on there for a couple of minutes and get annoyed about something. My blood pressure goes up, or I start to compare myself and all of and I feel like, I don't know whether that's just me. I don't know whether maybe because it is, again, more of a verbal platform. Um, I don't know what that is precisely, but yeah, I've noticed that about myself. And so even just the nuances between different types of social media, and that their effect upon you. I think it's so important to be aware of that, because 10 minutes on Facebook, and I can get quite judgy, about
Yeah,
my
I feel you.
yeah,
Yeah,
about
so
myself and about other people, about the world in
mm.
particular. 10 minutes on Facebook and I'll be like, the world's gone to rah.
And generally it has. You're not wrong.
Whereas Instagram, it comes back to what you were saying about being solution focused. And I feel like, again, maybe it's just what I've chosen in my feed, but I feel like generally there are more solution focused kind of posts, and people who are really doing their best to share their wisdom and kind of, what's the word, yeah, their solutions for what's going on right now, as opposed to just whinging about it.
But it's like, it feels like it's that whole, like for me, it's more almost like I feel more heart in people, because they write stuff on there, right? They write something that's true to, well, also again, the people that I follow, like they write inspirational stuff. They write things that's deep and it makes me think. And for me, it's like I wanna always think. Like I wanna think and understand and like analyze and all of that type of stuff. That makes me happy. So when I read their posts, I'm like, oh wow, this is an interesting perspective. I like that. And then I can start and play with it, and then I can take some of it or not take some of it, whatever I choose. Yeah, but you're right. Like Facebook is just a bit like I don't know. But I mean, obviously we have to use it for our businesses and stuff like that. But there's a lot of crap on there that I'm just not interested in. Where I totally agree with you. Like Instagram feels to me like people are like they're discerning about their words, and I do think it is because of people that I follow as well. So there is something to be said there, because I mean, for me, it's always like I need to resonate with you, and I can choose if I want to follow you or not. That's the cool thing. And do I want to see you in my feed? And so it's my discerning that creates that space of inspiration, basically, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think the visuals help as well, because it's primarily a visual platform. I'm like you. I love, I write posts to go with my visuals, but I also love to read the posts that go with visuals as well. But I think the difference is that it's more visual, and that has such a profound effect, again, because it's mostly curated to be, or created and curated to be visually pleasing, it has a profound effect upon our nervous systems in that way. It's calming and inspirational.
Yeah.
You know, people do post kind of horrible things as well, but generally they're
I don't see them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's also with Facebook, is like, you know, I don't watch the news. So like, you should never ask me what's going on in the world, because I'll find out through my husband or like Facebook, right? So, and what, like, I'm not interested in the news. If I really want to know something, I'm going to look at it. But I try and kind of steer away from that unless I need to know. And then, like, I don't see any of that shit on Instagram. No one is sharing like news reports or anything. With Facebook, I'm always like, okay, if I want to know what's going on in the country, I'll go and look there instead of going to the BBC or whatever, right? But it's just, for me, it's like, and that's like kind of, it's a peaceful space, exactly what you're saying. And that's what I think we need. Our nervous systems, we need that. So I try and kind of stay away from the thing, unless it's for business. So it's an interesting dynamic there.
I love that. What motivates you each day to do your work, to share your work, and to keep coming back to your truth?
That's an interesting one. So I think when I think about that, like what motivates me, I've got this weird little internal driving system, which like I've always had inside of me, and I've kind of like tried to understand it and look at it, and it comes from like my star connection and all that. So like for me, it's just like one of my missions on a soul level is basically to help people find themselves again, right? And to help people find their truth. And I think that's what motivates me, because I know how finding my own truth set me free and how it returned me back into a good space. So like that motivates me, because I'm going, shit, if I can be in this space where I feel life is magical and everything is interesting, and like I really want to just keep going, surely I can inspire and help people to also get into that space of going, actually life is magical and there's something amazing there, right? So I just want, because I feel so much magic in what I do, and when I get to see the stuff that I can show people, then I go, but guys, this is there, we can all go and look at it, and it's so amazing. You need to come to Yolandi-land and come and check it out, because that's literally how I feel about it, right? Because like everything, and I mean, we all live like just normal lives, right? We wake up in the morning, but like these pockets of moments when you get to be in the magic, that's what I want people to have, because even if it's just for a few hours a day, like that's where the amazingness lies.
God, yeah, I totally agree with that. That is so gorgeous. And I can also relate as well. It's that kind of little, there is like a little like motor that kind of never quite gives up.
Yeah, the little train who could. I always feel like chugga chugga chugga, like I'm ever going up the fucking hill, and like
and sometimes it gets really tired and you're like, okay, I'm just gonna have a rest.
Need a station now, someone bring the station closer. Yes, I know.
But yeah, I excuse me, sorry. I know that there are times when I, in my really kind of darkest moments, and you just, that voice comes in. It's like, I'm just going to give everything up. I'm not going to bother. It's all too hard. And yet, even then, there's just that little tiny, tiny voice that says, but that's not true.
Yes, there's something inside of you that's always going, this is okay, this is real, you're doing this for something bigger. I don't think I'm ever in my lifetime gonna understand exactly what the something bigger is, but I keep on seeing pieces of it, and I keep on seeing people being healed and people finding themselves again, people living in their hearts, and like, so you see all those like potential. I keep seeing potential, and then I'm like, potential is what makes it worth it, right? The potential that we can be like really heart-led humans again, and care about each other and do things right for everything and everyone on this planet. Like that's I guess the big motivator is that there's so much freaking potential in the world.
Yes.
So
Yeah. I love that. Yeah.
yeah.
No, I totally agree.
So
Wow.
so helping people to find that again is like, that's the thing. That is, I think that's what drives me. Because shit, if people see their potential, then they're like, oh, I can do this, and then life just like is amazing, right? So yeah.
Absolutely. And is there a tool that you come back to yourself to kind of get you out of a funk or get you out of that kind of critical, voice or whatever it is?
Uh, so my best friend in the whole wide world is shadow work. So I am like the biggest fan of shadow work.
Yeah.
It's something that I discovered about 2 years ago. So I never knew about it because I was all love and light girl, like everything was
Wow.
and then I'm like, oh my God, but there's all this shit going on inside of me, and I'm like not understanding this. And then I found shadow work. So shadow work for me is the minute that I feel resistance in myself, and like I can feel, it's almost like the minute the darkness comes over, then I know that it's time to go into the wound. I know that it's time to go into the shadow and go and see what it is.
Yeah.
So for me, if I wake up in the morning and there's something feeling like I can almost know my energy, I can feel when stuff is like pushing, like I have that resistance within me, and then I know, okay, let's go shadow work this baby. So then me and the issue go and
Yeah.
sit down and start writing, start unraveling, start finding a new bit about myself, new stuff that I have to look at, all of that. So my favorite tool to use for my own healing journey is shadow work.
And so you mentioned kind of journaling, like how else might you approach the shadow kind of excavation?
Exactly.
Exorcism.
So for me, the minute so if I'm finding something that I am in resistance of, so let's say like something that I've worked a lot with is sharing my voice, right?
Yeah.
And always being like backing my voice, backing my truth in my voice, all of that type of stuff. And then when I feel myself resisting, say, to go and speak about a certain topic or whatever, then I'm like, okay, so what is the topic? How does that topic relate to me as a person? What is it? So my favorite thing is I always say why. Why is this making me feel uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Why am I resisting this? Why am I doing this? Where does this come from? So I always try and work things backwards, and I often go to like my childhood, and then I'll go and see, oh, remember that time when that person said something mean to me and it made me feel like this? Because I do find a lot of the stuff has got to do with our inner child as well.
Oh my God, yes.
We have this little wounded inner child, right? And like she just wants to be heard and she just wants to be acknowledged and stuff. And very often when I excavate enough, I get back to her and she's going, hello, I just need some attention. I just need
Yeah.
someone to listen to me. Please come and let's have a chat. So for
Yeah.
me, why is always my guiding system. And then once I get to it, then I'm like, okay, so what do I do with this, right? And for me, if I can see my problems, then when I feel it coming up, I'm like, I understand why that's coming up. And then I can go into either fixing mode, acceptance mode, forgiveness mode, whatever the thing is that I come up with, like how can I make it better for myself? Because sometimes we can't always fix everything that we find. We just need to love what we find.
Oh yes, yes,
So,
yes, yes.
so I love fixing, but fixing isn't always the answer. Sometimes acceptance is the answer.
I love that you brought that up because we are a fixing culture. That
Yes.
is our kind of, when we've got a headache, we want to take something to make it go away. When we've got a problem with a, kind of friend or whatever, we want to kind of just either avoid it or,
Yeah.
meet it head on, go, let's work this out. And
Yeah.
sometimes acceptance is the buffer, right? We need that buffer in order to actually be able to fully go into it and work out what it needs.
Exactly. And for me, it's always, what does it need? Like, it's like when I ask enough questions, I can get to that point. And I know for me, like, one of my, I think that this is just where I come from, how I grew up. Like, I come from a fixing family. I come from, like, my job's always been to fix shit. Like, I want to help people. I want to fix stuff for them, blah, blah, blah. But like, very, very often it just comes up like, we just need to see it. Like, for me, it's almost like, if I can just see what this is, then that fixes the problem. Like, that, like, acknowledgement of stuff that comes up for us, because you just, there's not always a solution. You can't just make it go away. You can't erase it. It's like, sometimes it's just like looking at it, and then when it comes back tomorrow, I can look at it again and I can go, I see you and I appreciate you and I feel you, and then I let go. I woke up last night and it's kind of interesting, we're talking about this now. I was saying to my friend, because I'm not a mantra person, right? Like, I am never been, like, it just, like, it's not my thing. But and I'm always quite critical of it, because I think people don't do the deeper work for the mantras to work, right? They just think, I'm worthy. It's like, dude, that's not gonna, you need to understand why you think you're not worthy, and then you can go and convince yourself that you're worthy, right? But so I'm always quite critical about it. And then last night I wake up, I don't know, like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like sitting there, and then my brain wants to go to this one issue that I'm facing at the minute, and then all of a sudden I just had this let go and let God. And I'm like, what? And then I was like, ooh, this is interesting. So I just started repeating it to myself. And all of a sudden, my resistance and my ego's need to go and, like, sort this thing out just disappeared. And I was just like, let go, let go. It was so beautiful. I was like, oh, this feels so yummy. And then I fell back asleep again instead of lying awake for 2 hours trying to fix this issue that I've been facing. So I kind of, because I've been working with it and I've been looking at it and stuff, but my ego wanted to come back up and pull me back into the drama of it all. And it's just like, no, we know what it is. We've analyzed it. We've looked at it. We've seen it. Now we just need to let it go. So I love that gentleness that my soul brought in for me. Just kind of go.
It's gorgeous.
And I feel like I woke up this morning, I'm like, awesome. This is beautiful. I feel amazing. You know, but it's just, I'm just in acceptance of the fact that this issue is there and it's fine, and I understand it, and there's no denial or trying to push it down. I see it for what it is, right?
Or bypassing it as well.
Exactly. I'm in full awareness of the issue, and I know I've done everything that I can. Now I have to let it go. That's basically it. You know, just like, there you go. It's just there and it's fine. So that was quite a bit of an experience.
And again, I feel that comes back to that kind of more feminine way. You know, the masculine is very much like, right, we need a solution for this. Let's get it fixed. Let's go. And it's exactly what you just described. It's like really kind of that fully embodied acknowledgement and acceptance that there is an issue, and that's okay. We don't have to be so judgmental and critical that there's something going on, because that creates, like, I would say 99% of the resistance to actually moving through it is that criticism. And so when we move into that place of acknowledgement and acceptance, it just, like you say, you can just begin to just slide right through it.
And I was just like, oh, this is so, because it's like, I've done my work. Like, I've looked at this baby from all the angles that I can look at it from. So I know, like, you know, my masculine part has played its role, literally. And it was just like, because for me, I worked in the masculine side of myself for many, many, many years. And so I'm still learning how to be more in my feminine side, because it is hard for me. And I think that's the thing, right? So every day is literally learning how to be more in that magic of the feminine, because that's like, it's so much easier to be in that than in that, like, hypercritical masculine side of ourselves.
Yeah, I really, 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 really relate to that as well. And when I come back to that as default, it just feels so delicious. It feels so natural And, you know, ironically, because I grew up as, like, I was such a tomboy, you know, and I had two older brothers, and I was outside playing in trees and stuff all the time. And, you know, not that that is exclusively the realm of boys, right? But that's
But it
kind of
used
what
to
we're,
be.
yeah, that's
That's
what
how
we're
we grew
brought up.
up, right? Yeah.
And, yeah, and I always felt, I guess in today's world, we didn't have the kind of the words for it back then, but I guess in today's world maybe I identified more with the masculine.
Mm.
And yet I always felt like I was fighting something. Everything always felt kind of hard, and like I was really trying to push and push. And since really learning to move more with and into the feminine, it just, like, life feels so much easier, honestly.
Mm.
And that's not to say, like, you know, you have to have a balance of both, but I think the problem is that our society reveres the masculine so much.
Yep.
You know, it is the you know, the filter for everything in our society, that we have to see things in that way, and we have to do things in that way, and we have to fit a certain mold. And actually, when we address that balance, when we redress that balance, it, like you say, it just, that's a real alchemy.
Mm. Exactly. And I've been spending a lot of time thinking about that, like that masculine, the way that the masculine has been forced upon all of us, right? Like on male and female in
Yes.
society, right? And like for me, it's like I call it like I'm unraveling the patriarchy within myself. That
Yes.
is part of my work that I'm doing at this point in time, because like I have been conditioned, and so many of us have been conditioned from the minute you got here. It's been freaking centuries of us like being in that patriarchal energy, and that's all we know. Like we have not, you know, so for me it's just like we need to relearn the stuff that happened before the patriarchy started taking over. We need to go back to those ancient ways of how things were, and
Yeah.
start putting that back into society and into ourselves. Because for me it's like if I'm unraveling the patriarchy within myself, I'm introducing this beautiful female energy back in, right? This divine feminine comes right back into me. But I have to get rid of this system that I've built within myself. And
Yeah.
as much as the structures are out there, I carry that within my heart, within my truth, within who I am as a person. It's my responsibility to unravel that part of myself. I can't expect the world to be doing it, because if I
Yeah.
teach myself how to do it, I'm going to teach my kid how to do it. He's, you know, it's just like we have this, there's this ripple effect of like I start here, and then so I'm inviting the divine feminine back into my life, and
Yeah.
then that goes out, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, but the answers for me, it lies back there. It lies beyond where the patriarchy started, and it does go back to returning to nature, returning to who we are, all that type of stuff, but beyond that point. So I'm still figuring it out, but I know it lies there somewhere. I'm in the
Yeah.
process of finding it more.
Yeah. And how do you think that that might, you know, getting back to that might solve some of the problems that we're facing, particularly right now?
Oh,
Is that
you
too
know,
big a question?
no. But I mean that's the, for me, it's like, because involved with that is things like compassion and understanding people, and like seeing where they come from and acknowledging their wounding and loving them through their wounding and all that type of stuff, right? And that's what the feminine does. That's what the divine feminine does, is she holds space for people to help themselves, right? She holds space for people to start being softer and more gentle. And when we do that, imagine if all of us showed up like that. The
Oh,
whole world would start changing, right? It would just be, so if I do it, I might inspire someone else to do it, and they're going to inspire someone else to do it. So I'm always thinking about the ripple effect. If I speak to one
yes.
person and they do somewhere, like they do something and they inspire other people, and those people inspire, I mean, shit, man, we just, but it has to start here. I don't, like, for me, it's like, I can't go and change the government because it's just me, right? But
Yeah.
I can change me, and then things will ripple out. And That's how and I know it's a super optimist. Well, like I'm probably the eternal optimist in life, but shit, man, we have to try. We have to start somewhere, right? So,
Well, exactly. And I think as well, I keep coming back to, I struggle with that kind of feeling, oh, well, what difference can I make?
yeah.
And that is very ego based. That's kind of like, well, you're alone. You're not going to fix all the problems in the world.
Well, we're not going to, but we can try, right?
but I keep coming back to, kind of key historical figures, whether that's Martin Luther King or Carl Jung or whoever it is, and I think about the part that they played, and the kind of maybe they ignited something in society and how we kind of dealt with things at that time, but they didn't live to see the solution.
Mm, mm.
And I think that for me that's inspiring, because these are key figures who really helped to make an impact upon the world. And yes, unfortunately, many of them are male, because we revere male success, and we have revered male success. But even knowing that you are a part, you don't have to go down in the history books,
Yeah.
And even knowing that you are making an impact upon yourself, as a part of society. If you're making an impact upon yourself in a positive way, that's huge.
Yeah.
That is
And
huge. You're taking control of your well-being, your mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health. Then not only are you not draining resources for other people, but you're actively showing up and showing people that it can be done,
exactly.
that you can take responsibility and you can heal yourself from all the multiple issues that you might have.
Exactly. And the thing is, you're impacting your kids through doing all of these things, and your kids are going to impact their kids. And like, so we go, right? So
Yeah.
even if you're not on a platform, or you're not like busy, like, shouting it out over the rooftops, the thing is, you're going to impact your family. Like, if you influence your mom and your dad and your children and your husband, they're going to influence their friends and whatever. So, and like, again, this thing ripples out, right? Like, your kids are going to go into the world and they're going to show up in a good way, and the people that they meet, they're going to change things for them, and something's going to shift in some person there, and then they're going to go and influence people. So for me, it's just like, it's little small bits that we do, and if one person gets impacted by your change, then that's cool. Then that changes the whole freaking world.
Yeah.
So,
And that's such a heartening note to wind down on. I'd love to ask you, Yolandi, what you feel in terms of humanity right now. What is humanity's core truth?
oh, dude, that's like a there's good in everyone. That for me, that's what I'm like. I think there's so many people who are still seeing the good, and we forget that, because we are inundated with the negative, the bad people. That's all we see in the news. But there's more good than bad out there, way more good. And I think people just, like, people know this intrinsically. They know that there's beauty and good everywhere.
Yeah, and we just need to keep reminding each other.
Exactly, exactly. Because it's not all that stuff that's outside there. So, yeah.
Imagine if we had news outlets that were focused on that instead. What a difference. What a difference that would make.
Exactly, exactly. So that's why we leave that stuff there and we focus on like all the amazing people that we surround ourselves and that we choose to surround ourselves with, right? Like the voices that we choose to listen to, and those people that we choose to inspire us, like connect with them, listen to what they say, and like cut out the guys who are always focusing on all the like just the bad stuff, right? Like go with the truth speakers. Connect with them.
Yeah, and again, that doesn't have to be, I think it's so willingly thrown around that when you talk like that, that you're bypassing, you're kind of bypassing the world's problems and what's going on and all the rest of it. And I've always had a bit of a kind of a gut reaction to that, because honestly, if you're putting all of your energy into, the negative stuff that's going on, then you have no energy left for creating positive change.
Yes, exactly. And that's the thing. It's like creating positive change, right? Like the thing is, like the people who are going through hardships and stuff, like let's inspire there. Let's make people like look at their truths. Let's help people get back to themselves again, right? And not just go, oh my God, everything's burning and blah blah blah. So like because the thing is, like I don't want to bypass, but I want to help the people who need it,
Yeah.
but those things are not helpful for anyone, because if I'm
Yeah.
fear-mongering constantly, how am I helping, right?
Yeah.
Like we don't live in a world where there isn't COVID and there isn't hunger and there isn't poverty. So we're not like negating or like going, that's not what I want to see. But what I don't want to see is the fear-mongering. And what I don't want to see is the, oh my goodness, the world's falling apart, because it's not, because there's good and we all help others in our own little way. And that's what we need to focus on, is how am I making a positive impact on the world.
Yeah.
So but I choose not to be in the fear-mongering energy of this world.
I love that. Yeah, no, I really, really, I watched a little video by Lee Harris last night where he was talking about this back in January, about that he was seeing that there were kind of groups of people who were, especially in the spiritual community, who were really getting drawn into, some of the real dark stuff, and kind of staying there, honestly. So getting really caught up in all of the dark energies going on, and not finding their way back out of it. So it's kind of, it's noticing. He had a really lovely way of describing it, which I can't bring to mind right now, but he was talking about, you have to be so mindful of your own energy and how it's being effective, and whether that is then productive. Is it, is it helpful, or do you need to just draw back a little bit so you're still aware of it? It's not like you're going, I can't see that.
None of this is really happening. The shit's still there.
It's still there. You're still aware of it, but you're intentionally focusing on creating that positive energy, creating that ripple out effect, and actually, building solutions in the world.
Yes. Yeah. And just inspiring people. I mean, for me, it's just like, if you can inspire someone to start changing something within themselves, the effect's going to be that that's going to help where the stuff is going wrong, right?
Yeah.
If I'm in the space where I am taking responsibility for my life and what I'm doing, I'm not going to be harming other people, and I'm not going to be harming the environment. I'm not going to be harming whatever, right? So if I am not harming within, I'm not going to be harming without. So for me, like, I feel like my mission is like, if I can get more people to like be in that space of loving themselves, accepting themselves, all of that, that's going to again ripple out, and there's going to be less wars, and there's going to be less people hurting each other, and there's going to be less of the bad stuff when we actually start from there. So it kind of all comes back, right? So
Yolandi for Prime Minister.
I'm not sure I would ever want that job, Shame. I do feel for them though. Because you have like all these people like shouting at you, and you can never make the right decision. So it is quite hard.
Well, maybe there'll be a new way in a decade or so. Maybe there'll be another way entirely. Who knows?
But that's what we're starting, babe. And that's the thing. It's like we need to start thinking of the new ways. We're here to create the new ways. And that's what I'm feeling this year is going to be. This year is going to be about like, how are we going to start the new way? We're like the people birthing the new ways. That's how I'm feeling about going forward. So
absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, Yolandi, you are just such a gorgeous being. Where can
Thanks.
we find you?
Okay, so yeah, my website is divinesoul.me, so DIVINE soul.me, and yeah, everything's on there, and I'm on Insta. All my links are there for Insta, Facebook, and then for my website, and yeah, and I'm on YouTube as well, but all of the links are on the website, so you can just like navigate from there and find everything.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Oh, thanks for having me. It was so nice. This is like, could do this for another 3 hours.
Oh my God, I know. We should make it a regular like Tuesdays, or well, I don't know. Is it Tuesday? I can't remember.
Last time I checked, it is.
Tuesdays with Yolandi. That'd be awesome.
Awesome, sweet.
Oh,
Okay, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been so much fun talking to you.
and to you, my love.